few months ago, I did a video on Ozempic, which is a GLP-1 agonist intended for blood sugar control with the often desired side effect of weight loss. However, these drugs also have undesired side effects. And while the comments I received were not all against the drug, I was shocked by how many people shared problems. As one viewer wrote, after trying a semaglutide, which is a GLP-1 agonist, the drug ended them up in bed for 5 days with a huge headache, nausea, throwing up, and stomach pain. Another viewer commented about muscle loss, stating that they atrophied a lot when using it. And another commenter had this to say, there is a side effect that isn't talked about much, suicidal ideation. Ozempic is expensive, requires weekly shots, and as you can see, comes with unpleasant and even scary side effects. There is an alternative that can leave you feeling better, not worse, and all you need to do to make it work is shop for different foods at the grocery store. In this video, I share how keto does what GLP-1 agonists promise. The magic of Ozempic and similar weight loss medications is that they mimic the action of a naturally occurring hormone called GLP-1. This hormone is produced in the lower or distal part of the small intestine in response to food intake. So after you eat and there is food inside your system, GLP-1 is called into action. Its responsibility is to help bring your blood sugar level back down after the meal and ensure you feel full. So this naturally occurring hormone is helpful. It creates a more robust insulin response, slows digestion, and increases fullness, giving you better blood sugar and weight control. Ozempic mimics the action of GLP-1 by acting as an agonist, meaning it causes the same action as the natural substance, enhancing the effect. So GLP-1 is the central focus of these drugs, but your digestive tract already makes it in response to the presence of food, but not just any food. As we see from this paper, the components of a meal act as potent stimulants of GLP-1 secretion. The levels of its secretion change with the intake of different nutrients. In other words, food choices matter. GLP-1 is released far down in the digestive tract by special cells called L cells. While there are some indirect pathways that cause the secretion of the hormone, the direct exposure of L cells to content within the tract appears to be the primary route for GLP-1 stimulation. So you want to eat foods that take time to digest and move through your system. To be clear, we're talking about slow digesting foods, not quick digesting ones. Refined carbs from ultra-processed foods digest quickly. Think about putting a cracker or a piece of bread in your mouth. Even if you don't chew it, it will break down because it's a refined carbohydrate. It doesn't stay in your system, and you're hungry again in no time at all. Slow digesting foods include protein, fat, and fiber, which I will touch on later. Of these nutrients, lipids or fats stimulate the highest secretion of GLP-1. Now, we already know that dietary fat digests slowly, and essentially when foods stay in your system longer, your hunger stays satisfied longer. That is a fundamental explanation of why keto diets, which are high-fat diets, are so hunger-satisfying. However, that is not the end of the story. We can build on that understanding by noting that bile acids moving through the digestive tract stimulate GLP-1 secretion. How does bile get into your digestive tract? By eating fat. When you eat fat, it passes through your stomach into the top part of the small intestine. That signals the release of bile, which is a digestive fluid that breaks down the fat. Bile is good at doing that, but once it's completed its job, it stays in the tract, reaching the far end of the intestine, where it stimulates GLP-1 secretion. So a meal high in slow digesting nutrients stays in your system for a long time, prolonging hunger satisfaction. And of the slow digesting nutrients, dietary fat has the added benefit of triggering the release of bile, which leads to more robust GLP-1 secretion. Now I will share some ideal foods to eat in a moment, but there is a small caveat that if you don't recognize can make you feel like your keto diet isn't working. That caveat is that your body does not reach the peak of GLP-1 levels until 20 or 30 minutes after a meal. And I share that because if you struggle with wanting to keep eating after a hearty keto meal, understand that your body just hasn't gotten the "I'm full" message yet. That understanding alone can help you avoid overeating because you know that you will just need to wait a few minutes and hunger satisfaction will show up. If you need something to help bridge that gap, use a stopper, which is an item or activity that changes the taste in your mouth or takes time to consume so you can comfortably separate from eating. Element is my go-to stopper after a meal for 2 reasons. It tastes great and it replenishes electrolytes that I lose through my normal lifestyle. I eat a low-carb diet, practice intermittent fasting, and exercise, all of which cause my body to flush out electrolytes. That leaves me open to fatigue, muscle cramps, headaches, and irritability. I drink Element every day. In the summertime, I like to mix it into a cold glass of water or seltzer, but when the weather turns cold, I love drinking Element as a hot drink. For a limited time, you can get Element Chocolate Medley, which includes chocolate mint, chocolate chai, and chocolate raspberry, and it comes with a recipe booklet. I love the raspberry hot chocolate, but lately I have been making the chocolate chai. I start with 8 ounces of hot water, pour in an ounce of half and half, and then stir in half a packet of Element chocolate chai with some ground cinnamon. It is a wonderful treat to end a meal and has less than 2 carbs. If you use my link, drinklmnt.com/Dr. Becky to make any purchase, Element will send you a free sample pack with 8 of their flavors. So we've learned that GLP-1 is a naturally occurring hormone that helps control blood sugar, slow digestion, and increase fullness. Ozempic is a GLP-1 agonist, which is a type of medication that mimics the action of the hormone. As with many drugs, you get the desired effect, but you also get undesirable side effects. As Socrates is credited with saying, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." So let's get into how simply shopping for different foods at the grocery store allows you to follow a keto diet and enhance GLP-1 without the unwanted consequences. And when I say shop for different foods, the big picture is to bypass the cereal, chip, cookie, and cracker aisles and spend your time in the meat, dairy, and produce aisles. These outer aisles are where you'll find slow digesting foods. Earlier, I mentioned that fat, protein, and fiber are slow digesting nutrients, with dietary fat having a GLP-1 advantage thanks to bile. There are beneficial pure fats that we use in cooking and food prep, but when we look at actual foods, we find a higher fat content in meats, eggs, fish and seafood, and many dairy products. And if you'd like to download a copy of these foods, you can do so for free on my website. I will leave a link in the description area. But if you look at these foods, you'll notice that they are animal products. So in addition to fat, most are also a good source of protein. There are plant-based fats. They include nuts, seeds, and nut butters, as well as a few high-fat fruits such as avocados and olives. However, these plant-based fats are substantially lower in protein than their counterparts. What they do have is fiber. Fiber is one of the 3 slow digesting nutrients I mentioned. It also promotes the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. When fiber is processed by gut bacteria, short-chain fatty acids are produced, which stimulate the release of GLP-1. The challenge is that fiber is found in carbohydrate-containing foods. A keto diet is a very low-carb diet where you get less than 10% of your daily calories from carbs. So a high-fiber diet and a keto diet don't match up. What do? Which direction do you take, right? This is one of the frustrations that we face when trying to eat healthily. The thing is, there's no one-size-fits-all diet, so I'm going to give you some options. The first option is to follow a keto diet, putting less importance on fiber. Fiber has become a highly debated topic in nutrition. Some say that it is less important for keto dieters because the diet provides many of the same benefits. Specifically, a keto diet reduces insulin spikes, stabilizes blood sugar, and may even produce short-chain fatty acids from ketones. I have a video on how your body runs without carbs if you would like to delve more into that topic. However, if you're not comfortable abandoning fiber, there are 2 options that may give you the best of both worlds. The first one is intermittent carnivore. An intermittent carnivore diet is a diet regimen that introduces brief periods of eating 0 carbs or as close to that goal as possible. On a carnivore diet, you eat meat and other animal products. There are no plant-based foods because all plants contain carbohydrates. I utilize this strategy periodically and have a video describing what I eat and how I do it, and I will leave a link for you. But as an example for this video, you could introduce a 3-day period of carnivore dieting per week. This allows you to benefit from the high-fat carnivore foods for part of the week And if you choose, add fiber-rich foods for the remaining 4 days. The second option for getting the benefits of both fat and fiber is to follow a low-carb, not keto diet. A low-carb diet is still a high-fat diet, but there is more allowance for whole, unprocessed carbohydrates, such as fruits and vegetables. These additional plant-based foods raise the fiber content of the diet, and many people find a low-carb diet to be an enjoyable way of eating because there is plenty of variety. Now, one question that you might have is, can't I just add fiber from a fiber supplement? While there are beneficial fiber supplements like psyllium husk, for example, when it comes to boosting GLP-1, added fiber doesn't work as well as eating the whole food. This may be because the intact matrix of the food is what takes time to digest, which provides the benefit. I will also add that food companies often add fiber to processed food to get you to buy their product. That type of added fiber is often isolated or synthetic. It lacks nutritional value and can actually cause digestive discomfort such as bloating and gas. If added fiber is printed on the label of a boxed food, it might look healthier, but in reality, it's best left on the shelf. Anytime you dramatically change your diet, your body will need time to adapt. During that transition, it's not unusual to experience a drop in energy. However, that discomfort will pass in a few days. By focusing your diet on keto-friendly foods, you can regulate your blood sugar, slow digestion, and curb hunger without the cost or long-term side effects of medication. I will leave links in the description or more area below this video to the free low-carb food list, element electrolytes, including the chocolate medley, as well as the videos and studies I highlighted. I hope this video leaves you with some useful ideas. If you found it helpful, please share it with your community, give it a like, and subscribe to my channel. Have a great rest of your day.